Hi, welcome all the entrepreneurs and aspiring founders to our next session dedicated to health tech and agri-tech ecosystem and future of India. We have today Satyam Shivam Sundaram, a partner with Ernst& Young in transaction advisory practice. He also stayed as a faculty of IIM Indore and alumni of IIT Madras and IIM Ahmedabad. With EY, he has worked closely with central and state governments and working with influential clients such as Niti Aayog, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Agriculture. And he has remarkably advised to the government on policy making, reformation, and presently modernization. Welcome, Satyam, to Fun TQ by Antil Masterclass. Please tell us more about yourself in case I've missed something here.
Well, thank you so much. This was a very nice introduction. So nice of you to have introduced me.
Thank you. So, Satyam, we want to ask a couple of questions because you work closely with the government side, and we would ask certain questions around that. What do you think overall outlook after COVID in healthcare and agri domain, especially from the infrastructure side?
So I think the country would change substantially post COVID. It's already in that process. And you did hear Prime Minister talking about in his Nation Today address in terms of making India as a self-reliant Atmanirbhar Bharat. So there would be substantial change that will happen in terms of the kind of business that we do, the way we would do our business, and the places where we do our business at a broader level. Particularly in the health sector, a few things which will happen in the near future itself. So if you see right now, we are somewhere around 75,000, 74,000 and certain numbers, odd numbers in terms of corona. And we are growing at a rate of around 4.5 to 5% if we look at the overall number, which is a doubling rate of around 16 days, which is remarkably far, far better than many of the other countries, what they have been able to achieve. And I think kudos to the state and the central state governments as well as the central government for this remarkable effort that they have been able to do. We have been fortunate to be on the ground in many states and to be able to support on various initiatives, whether it's healthcare, agriculture, or food and many of the other basic premises that you look at. What we also definitely see happening, particularly in this sector, is that in the short run, there would be a lot of infrastructure created around isolation beds, around COVID management hospitals in areas which are going to have a lot more of these COVID patients, right? Such infrastructure would be either of temporary nature, for example, isolation beds. They would be of temporary nature by and large, but there would also be certain permanent structure created. For example, Odisha recently constructed a 200-bedded hospital over the last few months, which was going on. They rapidly tried and finished it. So some good infrastructure will also get created, which will lead to the required investments which was desired in this sector. And yesterday only you heard that Prime Minister's Care Fund, PM Care, from there 2,000 crore has been deployed for healthcare, particularly for the advanced healthcare management of COVID. So that's one area that I definitely see a lot of improvement. In the agriculture sector, I think, which is going to be the lifeline in terms of food security, because at the end of the day, that's a basic need that you have. We will see substantial changes, particularly from the technology domain side. You had ENAM, which government had started in 2014. This has been building on that base, wherein agriculture marketing itself was trying to move away from the physical marketing to an electronic market, backed by a physical market at the end. Now, here is a time COVID has got us into where we need to leapfrog and get into a market which is far more virtual. And therefore, I sitting in my own home should be able to buy something which a farmer is producing anywhere, very close to an e-commerce. So we will see that happening very soon, and there would be a lot of things required, and entrepreneurs will have a lot more to add there. So, for example, when I need to buy any particular produce, I need to know the quality. I need to know how will it get transferred to me, transported to me, and things like that. Now, for this purpose, you need startups, you need institutions which would work on the quality assaying side and plug into this larger ecosystem. So, whether it's quality assaying, whether it's sorting, grading, packaging, whether it's about transportation, we will see a huge amount of requirement of ecosystem which is technologically driven, which is led by the new ways of working, and which is what a startup kind of ecosystem can do. participating and doing a lot of more activity. Similarly, we'll also see them doing a lot more on the input side. So whether it's seed management, whether it's the kind of harvesting and post-harvesting infrastructure that you will see. So there would be a lot of substantial change that we are going to see in the coming years as things move forward.
Sure. Thank you. That's very helpful. So Satyam, which policies will likely to help these industries to boom after this phase is over?
I think on the agriculture side, there has been again a lot of movement already done in terms of many states during this COVID period have already agreed to get out of the licensing system, especially for fruits and vegetables. So F&B section is already out of licensing by and large in almost all the states. You will also see a lot of push either at the state government level or at the central government level in terms of trying to move further ahead in this direction and create an environment where they become more of a facilitator rather than regulators and let the market regulate it. I think that's a change that we will see from the government side definitely in the coming few years or few months.
Agree. I think that is very required.
Right. Similarly, in the health sector, I think the supply chain management, the whole Ayush itself and how Ayush is managed and administered will also see a lot of change. As a prophylactic medicine, as a Ayush as a sector trying to do preventive and promotive care with the health and wellness center coming in, will have a larger role to play. Telemedicine, teleconsultation, artificial intelligence, they'll play a big role in trying to change the health sector, even to the extent of newer technologies like blockchain. They will have a much bigger role in the coming future in terms of how the data stack of healthcare is managed without violating the personal sphere of an individual.
Sure, I think that's amazing, and you are now directing us to the public-private partnership, because all these will come from startups only. And when you talk, like you closely work on public-private partnership projects, so with these new disruptions coming from startup side, how do you feel government should relax certain criteria to boost the startup ecosystem to work closely with the government side?
I think government is also doing a lot in that direction. And if you look at even for small and medium MSMEs, very small industries also in that sector also, yesterday you would have heard that a lot of changes have already been done. In terms of startup also, we will see a lot more of relaxation. As you heard that government procurement up to 200 crores would be done all domestically and no international bidding will be done, or at least that's how it looks like. So that again will spur a lot of growth, and it will allow Indian firms to compete against each other and be able to provide the best suited solution which is required in Indian case. And they won't have to compete unfairly with very large firms which have systems and processes, and they are able to manage the cost structures in a very different way. So that change itself will support a lot.
Sure. So when you talk about government, and when you talk about the agriculture sector and healthcare sector, talking about the Mohalla clinic in Delhi, etc., they are not very adaptable to technology. How is government now looking, and how is government now open to adapt to such change in technology?
I think it would be unfair to say that these sectors are not adapting to technology. Whether we take on the private sector side or on the government side, there has been fairly good amount of adoption of technology over a period of time. It's just that the rate of change may not have been the kind of expectation that we have. Our expectations are much higher. And probably this COVID has provided that impetus where that technological change is something which will happen far faster. So for example, I talked about, we were amazed to see, take an example of agriculture, how quickly they were able to get NWRs to be connected to eNAM, how quickly they were able to get Kisan Rath as an app to take care of logistics, connect with what they call as custom hiring center apps, and the drone itself coming into surveillance and being able to also support in terms of crop cutting experiments and things like that. So these changes are coming. They are in the process, whether we talk about agriculture, and similar thing is in the healthcare sector. You see, very, very recently when the COVID started, there was a change in the telemedicine, policy, which allowed telemedicine to become, particularly teleconsultation, to become far, far more adaptable and far, far more useful. And we will see such kind of incremental changes even becoming bigger and bigger as the confidence of all the stakeholders increase, because these are the sectors where you have large amount of users who are in rural area, or the one of the key stakeholders. Now the kind of confidence that you need to build into them to be able to allow them to use such technologies need to be far, far more user friendly. So therefore, you will see that in the next few months, as these technological changes that have happened and they get adopted, one will see much more faster growth of technology adoption. And I think the country is quite open to receive such changes with an open arm.
Sure, I think that's a positive point for the startup ecosystem. So what are the initiatives we see EY is working on in these sectors going forward and during this period?
And that's a good question. You would have seen the newspaper cuttings in last few months that EY, has been one of the biggest force on the ground in terms of supporting during the COVID. And we have been fortunate to do that. We have teams across almost all the states on ground working, doing various activities, which are directly or indirectly supporting in this. So whether it is about crisis management team at the central level, or doorstep delivery of food grains using technology, that's something that we have been involved in, or whether it's about trying to support them in the telemedicine side, or creating an app to monitor people who are under quarantine, whether they are violating or not violating such a thing, creating apps which help them create facilitation, e-passes in certain places. So we also created apps and rolled out in 24 to 48 hours for passes to be issued to citizens so that they could move around. So EY has been fortunate to be there and to be able to contribute positively in this whole scenario. And we look forward to being able to contribute to the society, as our tagline is that we're making the working world better. So that's something that we look forward to.
Sure. I think, of course, it's there. And what are the suggestions you feel should be adopted to bring a change in this new economy?
I think you will see also, I'll leave the economy part of it for the moment, because I think in the next 4-5 days you will see this rolling out with the yesterday FM already talking about MSME sectors and all. I would say that rather startups will have a lot more role to play as a change agent among the stakeholders, and that's a role that I think we should be looking at in terms of capacity building, training, and the change management process which is required. As I was saying that 3/4 of India, which is going to use the healthcare sector and the agriculture sector, is in the villages. So therefore, how do you ensure that these guys are able to use technology? Not all of them will have smartphones like all of us are blessed here.
Yeah.
Many of them will either use feature phones or smartphones of a quality which are far lower. So therefore, how do you help them on board to such a technologically advanced thing that they are able to use app, and many of them may not even be literate. So how do you talk about these things? So changes like, rather than text, you also need to have images which can help people understand, okay, this is the image, and that's how I'll maneuver through the apps and things like that. So these are some basic things. But from basic to advanced things like capacity building and change management is something where I see a bigger role for the stakeholders to participate.
Sure, I think very helpful. And Satyam, all your suggestions and insight were very helpful. And I'm sure these suggestions will help government as well as startups to level up their game. Thanks, Satyam, again to talk to us here, and all the best for all your future course of actions.
Thank you so much. And we wish the startups also all the best, and to you also in terms of doing the great job that you are doing of trying to connect startups with all the investors and others. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Satyam. Bye.
Bye-bye.